Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Doctor Who fan audio commentary. Today, myself and the Watcher are going to be commentating on Rose, the first ever story of 2005, the first story of Christopher Eccleston, and the story that brought Doctor Who back in 2005, by Russell T Davies, funnily enough. As usual, this is a non-profit documentary. We are just fans commentating with our opinions. If you wish to watch the episode along with our commentary, feel free to put your DVD in, put your timestamp on 0, and then mute the audio, follow along with us. And Jack, is there anything else you want to say before we begin?
No, not really. Just that it's only one part, so the commentary won't be as long as the other ones. Which we were going to do Boomtown, and we were going to do Aliens in London World War III, but we decided that that we would do Rose. So we'll do that tomorrow, hopefully, or something else. Yeah. But
Yes.
Ready when you are.
Yeah. So we shall play in 3, 2, 1. Play.
I really like this title sequence and theme music. Originally, they were going to have the original Doctor Who theme from the 60s, but I've seen it leaked online when Rose was originally leaked online, they had that theme, but I'm kind of glad I didn't use it because it didn't really work. I mean, I think the music and title sequence here is great.
This is Murray Gold's first variation of the theme, and this is the first sort of contemporary series of Doctor Who, so I think it was appropriate to update everything, not just the look of the show, Doctor, the monsters, but also the music as well.
Yeah, and this opening shot I really like here. But yeah, I mean, as Murray Gold's themes go, I think it's one of his best next to the Series 4 theme. I mean, after that, I think he sort of lost it. I think they should replace Murray Gold, but I've always liked this intro. And
because it doesn't actually feel like a Doctor Who episode at first, because they put more focus on the companion story, obviously. But for this case, I think it works because they ground it in a sort of modern day, present day reality. 2005, just the average ordinary person who gets thrown into this big world with the Doctor, and they've never really done it too much before, as far as I'm aware. In the classic series, they haven't been solely in London, with just something like this, like girl who works in his shop, he doesn't really have much of a remarkable life, so they've tried to ground it in the 21st century, whereas the 20th century, it was all very much about the Doctor and the TARDIS traveling, so it was all established. With this, I think it's interesting how they've sort of with the series is essentially through Rose's eyes, which I like in this case, and Billie Piper plays it really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rose as a character would go on, like in Series 2, I didn't really like her, but I think here in Series 1 of Eccleston, she's really good. And I mean, you can tell that the story they were trying to focus more on the companion. That's why it's called Rose, and I don't mind that because if you're introducing Doctor Who to a new audience, you're going to need to introduce it with a companion that's relatable to people. She's working class, and Billie Piper, she's great. I mean, at first people might have been a bit shocked at her choice because she was a pop singer, but she's really good in this, and I really like this intro here. Like, it's really creepy, and I think bringing back the Autons was a great idea. I mean, the Autons are a really creepy villain. They're Alan's favorite villain, and I think opening up the new series of the Autons was a great idea because they're so creepy. I mean, they opened up Pertwee's first story as a Doctor, and they were in the first story at the Master in his second season. So bringing them back, I think, was a great idea, and I really like the spooky atmosphere here. I mean, I think direction by Collinson is really good. And
the only thing that Billie Piper doesn't get away with is looking 19. Well, the character's 19, but you don't really buy that. I don't buy that personally. I think she looks at least like 23 or something like that. It's not a major problem, but it's just a little gripe. I think, hang on. Billie Piper's 19? No, I don't believe that. But
yeah,
it's just me being picky. But I agree with the creepiness of this. And, you know, it's almost is a homage to Classic Who because it's throwing you into sort of the suspense that Doctor Who can have with these aliens, and then introducing the Doctor. I love the way they introduced the Doctor. Obviously, he doesn't arrive just yet, but
I like that. Great. But they didn't. This reminds me of an Unearthly Child, the mysteriousness of it, and the fact that you don't really know who the Doctor is. I mean, that's why I really love this story. I know some people are sort of like an Unearthly Child of the story, or a bit like meh, but I think it's a great opening. Like that Auton, basically turning his head. I mean, that's creepy. I mean, the Autons in this are really creepy. I mean, and I think they should use them more in the new series because they're a great villain. You know, I mean, shop dummies that come to life. I mean, that is a creepy concept because they're in almost everyday life when you go to the shop or
because there's no emotion as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no emotion and there's just these blank expressions and they all look the same. I think the Autons personally in Spear Out from Space are a bit scarier, but the Autons here are, I think they're just as scary. I mean, they're really creepy, you know.
They're obviously dressed more towards the 21st century.
Yeah. I mean, they look real.
I love his first line, run. Because it pretty much just sums up his Doctor. You know, he's a Doctor who's on the run, who's been on the run for a long time after the events of the Time War and everything, and he's sort of alone. And he's also quite, you know, showing the adventurous side of him as well. You know, run, which is obviously a key word that pops up quite a lot during the new series.
Yeah. And I think Eccleston as the Doctor was a really inspired choice. I mean, the guy is a fantastic actor, you know, pardon the pun, but I mean, he's a great actor. He was in some really good films like Let Him Have It about Derek Bentley in the 90s and Shallow Grave with Ewan McGregor. I mean, the guy's a great actor, and I think Russell T Davies made a really good casting choice, casting Eccleston. I mean, I think Eccleston is probably the best actor to play the Doctor since Tom Baker. I mean, Davison was meh, Colin Baker was awful, and McCoy, you know, a lot of people didn't like either, and McGann was good, but he just didn't get enough time. I think Eccleston, he's just so great in this, you know. I mean, from the get-go, he's just really captivating, and he brings the sort of darker edge to the Doctor, which I really love, and he reminds me of John Pertwee, the way he takes the role very seriously.
Lovely beans on toast.
Yeah. I mean, he has his funny moments as well, but I think he's probably best at the dark stuff. You know, he's really good at that. Run for your life.
He has a kind of sort of he has a kind of sort of a darkish charm about him that you know he's a guy you don't want to mess with, but at the same time he's got kind of a charming personality.
Yeah.
That, you know.
And what I really love about this is, like, yeah, it is for the companion's eyes, and the Doctor's a mystery in this, which I really love. It's like an unearthly child, you know, who is the Doctor? You know, it really asks the question, Doctor Who, you know, who is this guy? You know, and
I think it was also the correct approach for the revival, because this is essentially a revamp / reboot, although continuation.
Yeah.
And it also is intriguing when the shot blows up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is the Doctor dead? Oh, I mean, of course he isn't, because we've got another, you know, series to go. But it's
I like that. Yeah, and I like that the police box is like woo, like the thing, you know. I mean, and I think the CGI stands up pretty well as well. I mean, and
I know, you know, she's kind of a secondary character, but Jackie, I always find Jackie very funny. I don't know why. Jackie's a nice comedy character.
Yeah, I always liked her in the role. I mean, I know what you're saying about it doesn't really feel like Doctor Who at the start, because it feels a bit more EastEnders, you know, showing these characters, but I think they incorporate it really well into Series 1 and it works. And I think, you know, I really think that series 1 of Doctor Who is one of the best series of New Who. It's up there for me. I mean, I think there's so many great episodes. And Eccleston as a Doctor, he's so criminally underrated. I mean, he only did one series, but I think he's just so brilliant in the role. I mean, he's so dark, and he brings a level of gravitas. Like, that scene where he's shouting at the Dalek in Dalek, that is powerful. He's like, what are you going to do to me? If you can't kill, then what's the point of you, Dalek? I mean, he's just fantastic.
So another character who gets pretty treated like shit is Mickey.
Yeah.
Mickey Smith. In this story, it's interesting the journey he goes on, but it's a shame how you see their relationship deteriorate when the Doctor comes into her life.
Yeah.
But he's such a loyal character, and everybody just brings him down. But he finally proves himself in the next series, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you call him Mickey the Idiot, and I really like Mickey. He's a decent bloke, and I think Rose kind of treats him like shit, especially when it comes to series 2.
Yeah, because she falls in love with the Doctor.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is really well paced as well. I mean, we're already 10 minutes in, and it hasn't felt like it. And you've already got the build-up of the Autons. And yeah, I mean, it is through Rose's eyes, hence the name Rose, but that isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's called Doctor Who, yeah, but it's not a bad thing to show it through the companion's eyes. I think it works in this episode's favour. And I mean, I think Eccleston as well, so people complain that his Doctor, his outfit isn't very doctory. And, I don't mind it, to be honest. I mean, I prefer to call him Baker's outfit, the clown outfit. I mean, I think his leather jacket, I mean, it is basic, but it works because, you're trying to market this for a 21st century audience. You can't have him, going around in a scarf with a big hat or velvet clothes. I think the outfit for him works really well. And Eccleston's Doctor, I mean, it's such a shame that we didn't get a second series. I mean, some people say Eccleston's attitude towards the show was bad, but I don't think it is. He didn't leave because he wanted to be typecast, because he thought he was going to be typecast. He left because basically he had an argument with the people at the top of BBC. I think he said he wanted to do a second or third series, but he had an argument with the BBC. So,
I mean, he was never the biggest fan of the show, but he always he thought it was interesting.
I mean, he admired it. I mean, you can tell he admired the show, and he did it for the scripts because of Rusty Davies. But I still think no, that's great. I really like that about Eccleston's Doctor as well compared to Tennant. Tennant sort of becomes a bit more flirty with his companions. I like the fact here that Eccleston's more, alien. She's gay and he's an alien. He's quite quirky as well. And you can tell in this scene where he looks in the mirror, he's like, "Look at me." You could tell he's only just regenerated from John Hurt's Doctor. We wouldn't find out for another about nearly 10 years, but I think Eccleston, the reason why I like him so much is because he was my first Doctor, but not only that, it's just the fact that he was darker, and he does have this, I mean, this scene's just hilarious, him getting strangled by the hand, I mean, this is just kind of reminds me of classic Who as well, the way they're getting strangled by a hand. It's a bit cheesy, but it reminds me of like Terror of the Autons or something like that, where you have the plastic chair strangling the guy to death.
Yeah.
But I think it's well done. But Eccleston, what I really like about him is he is alien, and he doesn't really have a romantic relationship with Rose. That scene in Father Days, I did it again. I picked another stupid ape. He's more of an alien Doctor. Doesn't get involved with his companion, which I think is really good about his Doctor. I mean, it's such a shame he only one series, because the guy, he's great. I mean, I mean, any episode he does, he doesn't give a bad performance, I think. What's interesting as well is about like that shirt he's wearing. I thought it was a shirt, but it's actually a jumper.
Yeah.
Hello.
Kind of like how his doctor's just more sort of casual in terms of the costume.
Yeah.
Within the time as well,
Yeah, I like it. I mean, some people don't say it doesn't look like the Doctor, but I think he looks really good in it. I mean,
I think he can pull it off. If it was any
yeah.
other actor, then no. But
I mean, and I think it works because you couldn't have had him in a Colin Baker outfit or a scarf, or in a Victorian outfit. It just wouldn't have worked.
Like, I think they're trying to get away from the old-fashioned sort of suit look.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, with Paul McGann had like an old sort of Victorian sort of suit.
Yeah. I really like this tracking shot as well. They're just following them from. I think this was done in one take, and it's really well done. I just like the the Doctor is casual in this, but you can tell. Later in the episode, he does have a past and he does have a history.
It's interesting how she slowly becomes more fascinated by him and his life, but obviously,
yeah,
she's trying to understand who he is and why he's here. Obviously he's not been noticed for a while, so it's very interesting.
I really like the Doctor and Rose in series 1. Actually, I think they're very good in the first series. It's not a price war. Looks like you're still listening. I like the speech here. I think it's great, really well written, and I think this is really well done. Would you agree?
Yeah.
That's who I am. Now forget Rose Tyler.
Go home.
I mean, you can tell the Time Wars affected him deeply because he just doesn't want to get involved with anybody. He's telling her to leave. He's like the first Doctor in that way. He's like the first Doctor. He was on the run from the Time Lords. Here, he thinks Gallifrey's destroyed, and he just wants to be on his own. He's still. I think he's got. I think Russell T Davies said he's got survivor's guilt. He was the only one who survived, and he feels guilty for it. I think Eccleston pulls that off really well. If you've got any other actor, I don't think Tennant could have pulled this off, but Tennant. But the Tennant's great in series 2, 3, and 4 as well. But Tennant couldn't have done it like Eccleston because Eccleston's more of a serious actor.
I think with Eccleston, you can tell that the damage that has inflicted the Doctor, and that's reflected in his costume as well. The fact that he wears the dark clothing.
Yeah.
That he's no longer he doesn't have that that all authoritative persona about him. He's damaged. He's vulnerable, and that shows. I think that's very interesting that they explored this idea, and that's his arc over the series. That Rose sort of redeems him to the Doctor that he used to be, if that makes sense. I know, not in terms of regeneration, but in terms of his his attitude and his way towards life. She helps him see the joys of life again.
Yeah. I like the scene as well. She's trying to find out who the Doctor is. Doctor Living Plastic, Doctor Blue Box.
Do you know this man? Contact Clive.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting as well because you see him in past events in history. Um, um, I like Mickey's car.
That's exactly what internet energy.
Although Mickey gets thrown in the bin.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the campy feel of this story. Like, so, I mean, some of the CGI is a bit dated, and like a bin swallowing up someone is a bit hilarious. But I think it works, because it is Doctor Who. I mean, what's interesting about this, I think, it reminds me of McCoy's last season, like Survival, because in McCoy's last series, they developed the companions more. Is sort of like a working class London girl, like from a part of London like Rose, and the Doctor is a lot darker in that as well. I mean, I think they took a lot of elements from McCoy's last season, like the sort of working class girl who gets more development, who's more of a backstory, and I think that works here. I mean, you can almost like. I think if you watch Survival back to back with this, it almost feels like the same story, except 20 years in the future. I used to think the guy played the Clive here was one of the Slovenes.
The only thing that they don't explain is how did he get this information? Like, where did he find out?
I think how he got it was that the Doctor's been in time and space so many times, so someone's bound to come across him.
Yeah, no, but how did he get the photos? Like, did he can't have seen him. Like, did he look on the internet or?
I think so. Yeah, I like this. But I mean, I think this episode is so strong. I mean, from this one story, they commissioned a second series. Apparently, the BBC, and I can see why. I mean, the mystery of the Doctor set up really well.
Mm.
I mean, you see Doctor in Victorian clothes there. He looks a bit like McGann in those clothes, like McGann's clothes.
Maybe that was at the time what they were teasing, the fact that that's where he regenerated, but obviously that's changed now. When disaster comes, he's there.
Yeah, the oncoming storm. The way he was saying, like, the name seems to be passed on from father to son, that's obviously referencing regeneration, which we'll find out at the end of series 1. I mean, my first episode was actually Boomtown, but I remember getting this episode actually, funnily enough, it's weirdest story how I first saw this episode. I was at B&Q, and my brother was talking to a guy about Doctor Who, and he gave him this, like, this guy at the B&Q market gave him this Doctor Who freebie with the Sunday Telegraph of Rose, just Rose on DVD, and
I think I got that as well.
Yeah, and I just remember that's the first time I'd watched it, and I thought it was great. And I'm going. I mean, because I tuned in towards the end of the Eccleston era, like Boomtown, and I saw the Dalek two-parter. But I went back and watched series 1, and for me, series 1. There's not really a bad episode in there for me. I mean, there are a few ones that are weaker, but there are none that I can really say that are bad. I mean, I think series 1's up there with series like series 4 and series 3 as well. Like The Empty Child, you got the Dalek two-parter, Dalek, just a lot of good stories.
It's one of the strongest series of the new era.
Yeah. The new series, yeah.
This is a funny scene. Mickey stuck to the bin.
Yeah. And it works. It's sort of got that campy Doctor Who appeal, but it's kind of horrific as well. Like a bin that would, eat you. I mean, it's a bit horrific in some ways.
Budget. For the time anyway, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it is a bit dated now, but it's still, compared to the classic series, there's no contest. I mean, this scene of the bin swallowing him reminds me of the plastic chair swallowing uh, Mr. McDermott in Terror of the Autons, like the plastic chair swallowing him, was suffocating him.
How do I live? How do I breathe? When you're not here, I'm suffocating.
No, Alien. I think like the plastic looking Mickey's kind of funny but kind of creepy looking at the same time.
Yeah, it looks weird.
Yeah, because he's plastic. Like just the smile, it's creepy. Actually, go into more backstory in her in the novels about Jimmy Stone in the novel.
This is a funny scene. The way it's edited is quite cool.
I mean, I think what's really good about this episode in series 1 is there's sugar babe, sugar. Sugar babe down, sweetheart. And then you find it's a doctor. It's a great reveal.
Champagne.
Without any champ, just pops the cork in his head. And when he takes off his head, I mean, that kind of creeped me out as a kid, decapitating someone. Like this scene, like, you know, when the decapitated Mickey head is talking to him, that's quite creepy.
Eesh.
Yeah.
They weren't going to spare any expense with this.
Yeah. I think the music's great. I mean, that's quite, you know, you've got this headless Mickey going around. I mean, it's quite, I think, quite scary. What I really like about this episode series 1 as well, so you can see the dramatic, you know, increase in quality from this and, you know, McCoy's first season and some of the Colin Baker stories. You know, Russell T Davies really got his act together, and, you know, Doctor Who was really good again.
You can tell that there is a love and respect for the show there, and Russell T Davies is obviously, you know, it's a big task to revive Doctor Who.
Yeah,
he's grounded it in modern day reality, and I think, you know, the show owes him, the BBC owe him a great debt, because we wouldn't have Capaldi without Russell T Davies
or Eccleston.
Yeah,
I mean, I think,
or Moffat, come to think of it.
yeah, it's great the fact that she's like going around the police box and she goes in. It's like, I mean, I have to say, I think the TARDIS in this series is really good. It looks really good, like even nowadays. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this episode is 12 years old. I mean, which, you know, I mean,
which is actually still fairly current.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel that long ago. And you know, when the head melts, you know, that's quite creepy. Mickey's head.
You an alien? Yes.
When I first watched Doctor Who, I didn't think he was an alien. I thought he was human because he looks human. He just made his own time machine. I was kind of convinced he wasn't an alien for a while.
Melt.
Oh shit. Oh, fuck. That's quite creepy. His head melting.
Should have just played the John Williams music from Indiana Jones. Dun 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 dun. Dun.
I mean, like, what do you think the production design and like the TARDIS itself?
Very good.
Yeah. I kind of like Rose in this, and Billie Piper's.
An ordinary girl.
Yeah.
The doctor came and took her away.
Yeah. And Billie Piper's quite attractive back then.
What, not now?
Well, she's all right now, but I don't know.
Stupid ape.
I really like that line, every stupid ape blundering about on top of this planet.
Most planets have a north. I don't like that one.
Yeah. It's interesting they address that because McCoy had a Scottish accent.
Anti-plastic.
Yeah. I like this bit, the big dish, and it's the London Eye.
London Eye.
Like a big dome. Satellite. It's quite funny. London Eye. What? What?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a great catchphrase for him.
Yeah. And what I like is they don't overplay it like Smith. Like, bow ties are cool. Vests are cool. Hats are cool. Jammy Dodger, I mean, it would kind of start the catchphrase for the Doctor, but I don't mind it with Eccleston. It's good for him,
I agree about the music as well, from Murray Gold.
Really good, actually.
Down here. We've been on for 30 minutes.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of the TV movie a bit in that it's just it's an adventure of the new Doctor. They're just running about fighting monsters, which I like. I mean, I like the TV movie. I know some people aren't too fond of it. I mean, this is obviously better than the TV movie, but I think it's interesting how you go from that story to this story. I mean, it's interesting the fact that they did cast Eccleston. You'd think maybe Russell T Davies would have brought back McGann for a series, which would have been interesting, but I guess we wouldn't have got Eccleston, so I'm not too fussed. I mean,
yeah.
I hope they
Maybe
do.
Too old by this point.
Well, I mean, this was only like 9 years later, and he was only like 30 when he did the TV movie, so he was about the same age as Eccleston.
Oh, fair enough.
I like that. The Doctor, he's not here to kill his enemies. He's still got compassion, even though he's been in the Time War.
Words are his weapons.
Yeah.
Mickey. He rolls his eyes.
The Doctor just, yeah. Keep the domestics outside. I mean, it's interesting. Rose doesn't really fall in love with him, I think, till the next series, but you could tell she's sort of impressed with him in series 1.
She definitely becomes infatuated with his life and him and the way he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you're right. Falling in love with him probably doesn't happen until David Tennant.
Yeah, because I think Eccleston's like 20 years older than her, and he's not very attractive, you know.
He's all right. I am talking.
He's great. I mean, you could tell, you know. You know, I'm surprised Eccleston would say that because, you know, I'm surprised the Doctor would say that because he's encountered the Autons twice before.
Mm.
I mean, I like this. They don't shove it in your face and being in the war. You know, it's very subtly referenced throughout series
He
1.
was just like, I couldn't save your world. I couldn't save any of them.
You know, couldn't even save his own people, which is sort of tragic about his Doctor. He sort of, his Doctor's sort of tormented in some ways because he did kill his own race.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we're already 35 minutes in, you know, I think it's paced really well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Jackie's great. You know, ta-ra!
When we see her again in Aliens of London, when she slaps the Doctor, that's quite funny. Stitch this, mate.
I like that bit in Father's Day. It's like, I've been waiting to say this for ages. Jackie, Tyler, go and close the door.
Oh, I should have done that ages ago.
I mean, this stuff reminds me of Spirit from Space when they're like smashing through the window. You know, with John Pertwee. And they're all kind of amused at it by first until they smash the window like Spirit from Space. Shit. And they still have guns in their hands, which is cool. They got the original sound effects.
It's really quite sinister how they just kill Clive.
Yeah. They just shoot him. That's it. I mean, it is quite creepy. They're just. I mean, this is kind of quite realistic in some. I mean, the Autons aren't realistic, but you know, you hear about people getting killed in a shop. It's quite creepy.
Hmm. I love how it's Rose who actually saves the day as well.
Yeah, it's not the Doctor. I mean, this does remind you of the classic stuff, you know, Terror in London, you know. There's a lot of people dying. Then you have those like dummy brides or whatever. What's interesting is you actually see them smash the glass, which they couldn't afford in Spirit from Space. You don't actually see them smash through the glass.
Mm.
I mean, you could tell. I mean, you could tell this is sort of a little bit lower budget compared to some of the other episodes, just having the shop dummies, but it's still like much bigger budget than the classics show.
Just leave him.
Yeah.
Jackie's cowering in the side.
It's a bit creepy. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Urgh.
I've got the bronze. I mean, it's quite cool having the companions save the Doctor.
It is actually pretty easy how they just shove in the anti-plastic and that's it. But oh well, it's the first story.
I mean, it's 45 minutes, you know. If it was a two-parter, they could have done more, but I don't mind it. I think it's good, you know.
The
I mean,
music.
yeah, I think the music's great, and I really like the all tones. I mean, definitely check out some of the Pertwee stores of the all tones. They're better than this, but this is good too. Like they're really creepy and Spear Out from Space. Pertwee's first story.
Yeah.
I can see why Alan says they're his favorite villain because they are pretty creepy. You know, shop dummies that can come to life and kill you. You know, and they don't say anything. They just have the blank expression.
In fact, they can't say anything. All they have is their physicality and the way they move and the way they shoot people.
Yeah.
Love that shot.
Yeah. I mean, I think when people saw this, they're probably thinking, you know, Doctor Who's back.
I hope that would have been the reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think they said BBC, when they saw this episode, immediately commissioned Series 2 without watching the rest of the series.
I think because they knew it had potential.
Yeah, and because this episode's really good. It's a bit bitchy hanging up with your mum.
Yeah.
Easy. Thank you, Rose Tyler.
You know, the fact that also he takes her away for a whole year. Couldn't he have just gone back and then brought her back to like 10 seconds after they left?
Yeah, he tried that, but he went forward in time. He made a mistake in World War Three. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when they came back, couldn't you have then gone back? Was that like messing too much into her timeline?
Yeah, I think it's something to do with the Blimovich limitation effect.
Mm.
Yeah, you can't redo what you've already done.
Mm.
I kind of like, you know, he's just like, okay. And
You can tell he's lonely.
yeah, like that shot of him when he closes the door, you can tell he's sort of, yeah, he's lonely. Like he leave. I mean, I guess it would have been a bit like the TV movie if he just left her, you know, because he was alone at the end of the TV movie. And like, imagine if he did just leave her, it'd be kind of like the TV movie again. Doesn't have companions, been traveling on his own for years.
Mm.
And you kind of think that at the start, you know, he's just gonna go and move on. I'm surprised he does come back.
Bitch.
Yeah, she's like, exactly. You know, that she is a bit of a bitch.
Thanks for what? You know, what?
He's been a good boyfriend.
Mm.
I like the end of the world, but I probably agree with you. It's probably the weakest of the first series.
Mm. But it's, you know, it's all right.
I don't think there's like a terrible episode in series one. They're all range from decent to pretty good.
The production
great. Yeah.
design is amazing.
Yeah, you can tell they had the budget here. Dun, dun, do, 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 do.
Well, that was Rose, the first episode of Series 1.
Yeah. So what did you think?
I really liked it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I really liked it as well. I mean,
I do think that the resolution was a little too easy, though. The fact that she just kicks the anti-plastic into the nesting, it's a little bit easy. But other than that, I really like the story.
yeah, I mean, for me, I've always liked the story ever since I first saw it. I mean, what I really like about it is it brings back the mystery of the Doctor. It reminds me of an earthly child in that way. The Doctor's a mysterious character, and I think Eccleston is brilliant in it, and Piper is great. I mean, I think
It was what Doctor Who needed after the hiatus.
yeah. I mean, I think it's one of my favorites of Series 1. I mean, probably not the best of Series 1, but I think it's one of the best openers to New Who. I mean, I would take it over most of the openers of New Who, and I think Eccleston's brilliant. I think the mystery of the Doctor set up really well. I think, showing it for Rose's eyes is great. Having the Autons return was great. The Autons are creepy. I mean, I would agree with you. I mean, I think maybe the resolution is a bit quick, but I think, if it's a 45-minute episode, you can't really go further with it. I mean, maybe it would benefit if it was a two-parter, but I think, you would want to keep it 45 minutes for just the opener.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like the idea of the anti-plastic was kind of like easy, but it was the first episode, so that's fine. I'm not going to knock it, but it just would have been nice for them to try something a bit more clever, but still they have better stories yet to come, so it's not a major problem. I mean, the great thing I like about it is that it's sort of grounded in modern day 21st century, so it's a bit more relatable from the companion's perspective.
What did you think of the Eccleston himself as a Doctor, in the story and in Series 1? Like, what did you think of him overall?
He's good, yeah. I really like him. You can definitely get the sense that this guy is an alien, and he's damaged. He's not a normal guy, and you get the sense that Rose is obviously, enamored by him, and the way he does things and his life, and an intriguing guy. And Eccleston, he's very charming, but he's also very the emotional side to him. He's also kind of dark. Although his darker side is revealed about halfway into the series. You can tell, he's also kind of quite an authoritative guy as well. When he says, "I am talking," and all of that. They have some good chemistry. I like the supporting characters too, like Jackie and Mickey as well. They're very funny.
And even Clive, I think, is a good character for a one-off. Kind of sad that he dies.
Yeah, it would be nice for him to get more to do, or maybe even meet the Doctor at some stage. But oh well, it's not a major issue. I still appreciate the episode for what it did, and it brought the show back. So some credit, credit has to be given.
I mean, I think we owe massive debt to this. To me, it's like the unearthly child of New Who. Well, because it's the first story, and I think it deserves more praise than it gets. Some people are just like, "Meh, it's all right," or "It's not very good." Like some people say about an unearthly child, but I really enjoy the story. I mean, for me, I think there are better in Series 1, like the Dalek or maybe the finale, but I really like it. I think it's a really good introduction. I mean, compared to some of the openers like, New Earth and, even the 11th Hour, I wasn't a big fan of. Just that was boring. But I just think Eccleston from the get-go is just really engaging as a Doctor. He's like, go on, we'll have your lovely beans on toast then. He's like, and he's just like, run. It's just brilliant. You're into the action straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, I think his Doctor as well. He's just. I mean, you're right. I mean, they don't really reveal his dark side till halfway through, but you get of it. Like, I couldn't save them. It wasn't my fault. I really love that speech in this episode where it's like, I could feel the earth moving. I could feel it, and it was like go home.
Yeah.
And the expressions on his face, you can tell the guy's being damaged, you know. And that's what I like. I like the mystery of the Doctor. They bring back the mystery of the Doctor, and I think that's what makes I think that's when Doctor Who's at its best, when you don't know a lot about the Doctor. I mean, it's nice to know about the Doctor, but I think Doctor Who works best like with William Hartnell and McCoy and Eccleston, where you don't really know that much about him or his planet or where he comes from, because it makes him a more interesting character.
I often also find that the new series is obviously ups the budget, and obviously the production values are higher, and so the episodes feel more blockbustery, if that's a word.
Yeah.
And you know, the epic sort of scale, scope. You know, it could be almost like a Hollywood sort of sci-fi blockbuster. I mean, not to the Hollywood level, but a small scale sort of a blockbuster. And I like that. It makes the show feel a bit more epic. Not that the classic series wasn't epic, but obviously just because naturally time has moved on, technology has advanced, the prosthetics and also the music by Murray Gold helped as well. I think the music for the first episode was bloody great.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that, like the dum no 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 no, and
Rose's
dum. Yeah, I mean, I think series one overall. You know, I'll get round to reviewing it soon, but I think series one overall is definitely one of the best series, because Russell T Davies knew, like, you know, if we're going to get Doctor Who back, we really have to be at the top of our game, and
Yeah,
he got a great actor like Eccleston. He got a good companion in Rose. Well, she's good until about series two, but
well,
but I mean,
it's still good in series two. It's just the writing, like
yeah,
the way they wrote her character is like
yeah.
they painted
I
her
mean-
out to be some kind of saint, and then you know she falls in love with the Doctor. It just becomes too cliche. Like,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
she was just an ordinary girl in extraordinary adventures. You know, whatever happened to that? You know, and then she has to go and fall in love with the Doctor just because he's a new handsome guy. It's like, oh, okay, fair enough.
I mean, I think as well what benefits this series is the writing. Like, I think the scripts for series one are all very good.
Much stronger than the last few that were churned out before the show was cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think his McCoy's last series was really good, but I think some of the stuff before that, like Time in the Rani and Twin Dilemma, you know, rubbish, terrible. But I think the scripts here are really good. Like, I mean, there's just so many good episodes, like Dalek. You know, the script there is great, and Eccleston really shows himself.
He doesn't have a long era, but the stories he does have are very engaging.
And I think he's engaging as the Doctor. I think Dalek, when he's shouting at the Dalek, and you know, he's just like, you know, why don't you just die? You know, I mean, it was such a shame he only did one series. But I mean, as for the show itself, I mean, I think Rose is a good episode. I mean, you could tell the change, that the new sequence and CGI and the new effects. I mean, some of the effects now are a little bit dated because it has been 12 years ago. But because it was 12 years ago, but I think they still hold up compared to some of the classic stuff. And I think, you know, it looking a bit dated doesn't really damage it, because I kind of like Doctor Who when it's cheap looking. Like, that's what I prefer about the classic stuff, is it is cheap, but they try their best with the budget, and they make some really good models and things like that, which I kind of miss in the new series. But I mean, I think, you know, you got some other standouts like the Empty Child two-parter, Boomtown I liked, and the two-parter to Slovene I think is underrated. I think the finale is great, maybe my favorite of series one. Just so many good stories, and I think, you know, we have a massive debt to Eccleston. Some people just, you know, say, oh, he's the guy before Tennant, or he's a dick, you know, which I think is unfair. I mean,
because he was the one that brought the show back with Russell T Davies before David Tennant came along.
I mean, he was our first Doctor, so I think he has a special place for both of us, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, what did you think of his Doctor in series 1?
Yeah, I liked his Doctor. I mean, I've grown to like him more over the years. I didn't appreciate him fully when I first saw his era, and I think the series is very strong. It's just full of surprises. It's written much better than some of the later classic stuff that I saw, so yeah, that's good. And
some of the new series, like Series 6 and stuff like that.
I mean, I like it that it's kind of grounded. I mean, so even though it's a sci-fi show, they ground it in reality with Rose, and in terms of Rose herself, and so they kind of bring it back to Earth. They give it a kind of a realistic feel, like, and also the how life with the Doctor affects one's family. So they try and give it an emotional core. So I appreciate that. But yeah, no, that pretty much concludes it, really.
Yeah, I mean, like, what would you give it out of 10?
Out of 10?
Yeah.
I'd probably say an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I probably agree. I mean, I might say a 9, or I'd probably go for a 9. But yeah, I think both. This is a pretty solid rating for both of them.
Yeah. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the Hangouts. Thank you for listening, guys, and for watching. Tune in next time when we do the Aliens of London World War III commentary. So until then, I'm MrTardis11. This is The Watcher, and see ya.